So, good morning, everyone. I'm Justin De Eresma, and my topic is photographing the fire scene. So, let's start. The use of photographs to document much of the evidence and support the observations, opinions, and conclusions the investigators wish to make as, the, as to the cause of the fire will support the investigators' findings. So, gamit kayo ang photograph for evidence and aron mas mag-gather tanang possible na findings like sa pag-investigate na sa observations like sa mga scenes. Then, kuan lima ka type, upat ka type sa observations. Kuan kay ang una kay initial conditions, sunod burn patterns, structural activity, and potential ignition sources. Ang initial conditions kay photographs capture the fire scene initial conditions showcasing the extent of damage, areas of origin, and potential sources of ignition. Then sa burn patterns kay detailed observation of burn patterns, scorch marks, and fire spread helps in understanding the fire's behavior and origin. Then sa structural integrity, image may reveal structural damage or weaknesses aiding in determining the fire's impact on the building or surroundings. And last, sa potential ignition sources, kay photographs may highlight potential ignition sources or the presence of accelerants guiding investigators in their analysis. Sa moto sa observations din sa naay duha ka type sa opinions ngon ang expert analysis of hypothesis. Ang expert analysis is experienced investigation. Investigators provide expert opinions based on photographic evidence, offering insight into the fire's dynamic causation and any irregularities. Then sa hypothesis is opinions may involve forming hypotheses about the sequence of events, the role of specific materials, or the possibility of intentional acts like arson. Moto sa opinions then sa conclusions kay napoy duha ay tulo ka types. Mao na ang origin and cause, accelerant presence o fire spread. Ang origin and cause kay conclusions often revolve around determining the fire's origin and cause. Photographs aid in pinpointing the starting point and assessing factors that contributed to the incident. Then, kedua kay accelerant presence. If applicable, conclusions may address the presence or absence of accelerants substantiated by photographic evidence of burn patterns and residue. And last kay fire spread, assessing the extent of fire spread and its impact on the surroundings allows investigators to draw conclusions about the fire's progression and behavior. Additionally, photographs offer proof that refutes theories of other fire origins that might be put forth in the future. So when producing a report or before going to court, photographs might also help the investigator refresh their memory. When observing a fire situation in complete darkness, photos may offer details that torches may not be able to capture. So, if na-secure og picture tanang parte sa sunog, ay inikabot na sa court or sa pag-imbestiga kay mas makapalinaw din sa mga pictures para sa mga arson investigator din. Dili nila maagi sa arguments kay nakita nila kung asa or unsa minungdan sa sunog. Next kay pictures offer a readily interpreted and assessed visual representation. So when submitting a report, the investigator ought to substantiate each observation by a minimum of one or two images if feasible. The image ought to be labeled with numbers, captions, and notations. So diri kay i-report na nila ang fire sa fire scene kay para mas imbestigahan, kailangan nila og visual representation like i-compile nila ang mga captured scenes or na videoan then i-present sa mga ubang investigator then mag minimum na sila og 1 or 2 pa photo nga with numbers, captions, ug notations. Next, photographing the exterior. So, where to photograph and what to photograph. Number 1, from all sides or at least the opposite corners of the building to show the overall degree of fire damage and the locations of the various entrances and windows. So, sa photographing exterior kay need yung picture ng opposite side sa room ba na or sa asa nga place ang sunog like mahulog siya na murag naka 360 degree o capture din pictures sa entrance sa mga bintana. Number 2, the location of the building to neighboring buildings or firefighting access areas. So, diri kay tapos sa location sa building padulong sa mga dikit nga balay or sa mga pwede ma-access sa mga fighters nga entry sa building. Next, any object which may be material to the circumstances of the fire. Number 4, type of tracks, footprints, and location of explosion debris are photographed in close details as well as from a distance. So, ang exterior, sa mga pics, sa mga involved scenario, sa mga lakra, sa mga tiil, or sapatos, at sa mga na-explode nga stuff, kaya need yung picture sa dool as well as sa layo. Then, the external photos typically display the doors, placement, as well as the type and quality of construction, windows, gas meters, electrical fuse, boxes, flues, and chimneys. The exterior photos typically display the openings where the fire vented because they typically offer good color and texture contrast and are less impacted by smoke. Exterior burn patterns are typically easier to read than their equivalent interior burn patterns. So, ang exterior photos kay mas dali ra mailhan or makita kay mas klaro siya og quality nga like klaro ang color kay wala kayo siya na interact sa smoke kumpara sa interior photos. Report benefit greatly from panoramic views since they give a detailed overview of the scene. It can be created by combining a series of images, employing a wide-angle lens, or utilizing a disposable camera that has a wide-angle lens attached. So, mostly sa mga reports, kaya ang pag-photograph sa exterior kay naka-panoramic, like, kuha dyan na ng angle sa isa lang ka-photo kay naka-wide-angle mo ng camera nga gamit. Ano? Next. Photographing the interior. Photographs of the interior of a building are generally more difficult for the viewer to interpret than the exterior photographs, as well as the interior surfaces are usually burnt and covered with a layer of soot. Good quality flash unit is essential as the photographs need to provide as much detail as possible to allow the investigators to familiarize themselves with the nature of the damage and possibly the identity and purpose of the room before the fire. Then, sa photographing the interior is mas lisod i-identify kay sa exterior mas halos tanan na sa sulod man kay halos tanan na sulod kay mga halos na black ingi na murag uling sa na halos ginatawag na siya murag na siya uling murag ginatawag siya nga suit. Then, so, sobra jud ka need ang source sa light, like flash unit sa camera para sa pag-photograph scene kay para mas maklaro sa investigator or familiarize nila ang place kung sa mga possible reasons or purpose sa room before mahitabo ang sunog. Where to photograph and what to photograph. Number 1, all rooms and areas inside the building affected by the fire The photograph should be sequentially presented in a report from the areas of least damage to the areas of greatest damage or to the area of fire origin if this is not the area of greatest damage. The peripheral areas where, number two, the peripheral areas where the fire had not originated. So, dapat ang mga affected sa fire must be photographed yun. Tapos, if pag-abot na sa pag-report, kaya dapat nakapasunod like unahon ang dili apektado hanggang sa pinaka-apektado or sa mga main cause sa fire. Next. The area of fire origin should be photographed before excavation will commence, and again, photograph should be taken during excavation if the process has yielded points of interest. Dapat maka-picture daan sa area jud before maghalungkat sa mga gamit o dapat din naka-photograph well nag-ukay during nag-ukay ang mga affected things. Then number 4, at areas where an accelerant is suspected, the areas of localized damage to the floor as well as the overhead damage should be photographed. So if nakita ang mga di gikadudahan kay kailangan i-picturean gyapon para sa mga possible nga pag-investigate. Next. Points of entry and security of building. Fire brigade personnel will usually give an account of the security of a building as they found it. In many cases, their accounts will need to be verified at each point of entry by an inspection of the burn patterns and soot deposits to surface around the point of entry and an examination for the tool mat. So, sa pag-entry na sa building kay ang fire brigade personnel ang mga mag-entry sa place and mag-inspect sa mga burn patterns o mga suits like itong mga itom kayo nga mga nasunog na mura na siya uling. Where to photograph and what to photograph. The doors should be first photographed in the position in which they were found. If the door was found closed, then both sides of the door should be photographed. So, ang una is i-capture sa ang door, and if sarado ang door kay both sides siya picturean. Then the burn patterns and soot deposits around the door and the door frame should be photographed as they normally ascertain the position of the door at the time of the fire. And need yung picturean ang pultahan kay make sure nila ang position sa door during the time of sunog. Next kay any parts of the door or lock which may have been dislodged as a result of some type of force entry should be photographed at the location where they found and later constructed at their original position. So if lock naman ang pultahan kay necessary jud mag-take og photo while naguba para maka-entry ang mga investigators and syempre sa pagpatindog pud balik sa door like i-construct nila sa original position sa ilang pagguba. Next kay on windows, the position at the time of the fire should also be determined and the evidence for such an evaluation should be photographed. The position of the window frames in the case of a sliding aluminum window. So lang po if sa oras na sa pag-evaluate sa place and sa mga position of frames, if sliding window ang gamit sa ilang room or place. Number 3, the position of the falling glass should both indicate the position of the window at the time of the fires. And sa mga position sa mga nabuwak ng glass na sa smoke, the smoke and heat patterns above a window can also indicate the position of the window at the time of the fire should also be photographed, and the window lock should be recovered and photographed. And sa The smoke and heat patterns dapit sa bintana kay mailan na to ang position of naay kalayo sa dapat na adyo picturean jud Japon dahil sa mga pangguba na lock sa bintana kay dapat mailisan to ang picturean as always. Photography in arson investigation. Number 1, show the areas in which the fire started as or was set and help identify spectators. An arsonist often remains to watch the fire. So, pakita dapat kung asa ang sila sunog. Then, kailangan i-help ang mga spectators or mga arsonists para matanaw ang sunog sa mga imbestigahan. Okay, provide information about the speed of combustion and direction of spreading. Show the progressive stages of burning and firefighting from various angles. If possible, keep a record of the time each picture was taken. Number 5, help investigators determine the type of materials burning. This is where the use of color film is recommended. So, diri kay dapat makita sa photos ang process sa pagpatay sa kalayo in every angle. Ang tabangan na to ang mga investigator nga determine unsa ang material nga sunog. Next. Number 6, give particular attention to the most burn charred structure should be photographed from and all sides or angles to show the damaged areas. Other things to look for devices in incendiary are combustible materials such as matchbox, example, paper, liquids such as gas and paint thinner, and fuses. Although they may have burned completely, there could be a visible trail, effective wiring, and electrical or gas appliances that may have been the cause of the fire. Ang last ay ang importance of photography in arson investigation. So last is ang importance ay without evidence, arrest and prosecution of an arsonist is extremely difficult. Photography is an effective tool in recording and preserving the evidence of set fires. Much of the actual evidence may be destroyed during firefighting, or if it survives the fire, it may be impossible to preserve. Every effort should be made to photograph the scene of the fire, whether or not the person is suspected before it is disturbed by other operations. Pictures may be used to prove the intent to commit arson. So, ang last is ang importance sa evidence. If wala ni lisod jud kayo i-identify ang suspect sa pag-arrest, ug ang importance is sobra kadako jud ang tabang kay mas mapadali man na overview ang mga staff nga affected sa senaryo sunog. So, need you to photograph tanang mga affected sa place before mabungkag ang mga nasunog aron ma-prove nga na-intend to commit arson. So, mo to guys ang topic. So, I hope na mo matun-an.